Okay, some of you people out there concerning this White House riot are sitting there saying, oh, it was Antifa. Others are saying, oh, it was Trump supporters. Well, let's follow the facts, okay? Fact one, Antifa is not a centralized group, first of all. It is a scattered bunch of people that is not a cohesive group, okay? Get that through your head, first of all. You know, you might find 4 or 5 people here and there who share an idea about being anti-fascist, but you're not going to find thousands of them. You'll find 4 or 5 people over here who share an idea about anti-fascism. But their idea over here is going to be different from these guys' idea over here. That's why they have never become one central, cohesive, large group. Because Antifa has so many different facets and ideals to it. One Antifa group is not the same as another. It's not like the Ku Klux Klan or white supremacists or Proud Boys. Okay? Back to the FBI. The FBI researched the webpage that was out there coordinating this riot on the White House. They found that the IP address and the web page was connected to the same white supremacist group that put out the message when the BLM protests were going, claiming to be Antifa. And they were calling for their members. Now, their members would have known this came from their website, okay? And they were calling for their members, their white supremacist members, to go to BML protests, start looting, start rioting, and start violence. That's what they called for this last summer. That is the same group that called for the Republicans to descend on the White House and have a riot. The same group. FBI has already identified that. Period. Okay? Now, Trump refused to have proper security at that event at the White House at that time. Now think about that. Think about this last summer when the BML groups were out there protesting and they were off blocks away where the Trump supporters were at first. Now think about how many security and National Guard were blocking the way there, even before the added National Guard came. Think about the kind of fencing they had around the White House at that time. They had higher than 6-foot fencing for that event. They had wall-to-wall people for that event. And those people were being peaceful protesters, about like the Trump people were being at first. Okay? But Trump didn't he blocked against the National Guard coming in. So then the head of his security blocked against it too. So it never got there. They never asked for the DC police to help them. Okay? There you go. Now we've got a white supremacist group sending out a message for riots. We've got insufficient security at the White House at Trump's urging. Okay? There's a couple of facts right there. The night before the riot, the police had arrested some people who had weapons and who had guns with illegal magazines with the cartridges, too many cartridges in the magazine. Okay? They arrested them. So they couldn't be part of that riot, right? They were white supremacists that they arrested. Okay? Now come the day of the riot. They had Rudy Giuliani and Trump's son up there and talking about actually going and sieging the White House. Attacking. Physically attacking. Okay. Then Trump comes up and soft pedals it. And all he says is, you've got to stay strong. Just right after his son says, you got to go down there and you got to fight. Trump says, you got to stay strong. You can't give up. Come on down to the White House. I'm with you. Okay? These people get down to there to the White House. And if it wasn't for all of that, none of those people would have been down there. None of what happened would have happened. Okay? That's number one you have got to think about. Without them white supremacist calls, without Trump's lack of security, without Rudy's and Junior's Trump call for violence, and without Trump inviting these people to the White House, none of those people would have been there. Nobody would have died. A security guard would not have been beaten with a fire extinguisher. A woman would not have been shot. So plain and simple, those people are Trump's victim. Now, when those people got in there, how could this group be sure those people was going to do what they wanted? Well, some of them were carrying Molotov cocktails. Some of them were carrying guns of their own. And some of them, or at least one of them, carried a bomb with a timer. Now, if I was one of them people in that crowd that set this thing up, and I planned on blowing up the Senate, I wouldn't leave the premises, because if I did, they'd know it was me. What would I do? I would set that bomb with the 60-minute egg timer into the Senate, somewhere where it couldn't be seen. I would have set that 60-minute timer, because them people were in there for hours, okay? And then I would have gone as far away as I could. Now let's figure out where the Senate is and where the House is. Now there was a guy who was part of a white supremacist group who was clear across to the House, to Pelosi's office. Okay? Now, that pipe bomb didn't make it to where it was supposed to, because the woman got shot. Okay? Now, the pipe bomb was found near the RNC committee offices. On the way to Pelosi's office, did you have to pass the RNC office? Could that guy who was sitting in, I'm not saying he is. I'm asking a question to be researched, to be looked at. Could have he been the one who sat down the pipe bomb where he did to get rid of the evidence and then went to Pelosi's office to wait for all the shit to be done with? Could that be the case? Or could it be that this white supremacist group were some of the people that these security guards were letting into side doors? Did they have that plan? And could they be the ones with the pipe bomb who planned to sit it in the Senate and wait for everything to cool down so the damn thing would blow up? Or either blow up while they were sitting in some office far enough away. Now, if they wanted that to blow up while they were sitting in some office far away, think about this. Many of those people didn't know they had that pipe bomb. How many of them would have become victims because they would have still been on the floor of the Senate, possibly doing their fake arrest with their zip ties, which they brought. And they would have been blown up and killed. How many of them? So there would have possibly been more than just 5 people killed. Now, wouldn't have there? Regardless of what party any one of them belong to, I don't give a shit. There are 5 families that will never get to hug their loved one. 5 families that will never get to sit at a dinner table with them. 5 families that will never get to say, I love you to them. 5 families. Now, I put the blame of the murder of the security guard being bludgeoned with the fire extinguisher on every one of those people that were in them offices. I also put the death of the 4 other people on every one of those people in those offices. But I put more of the blame on Trump, his son, Rudy Giuliani, and the white supremacist group that coordinated this. That's where it belongs most. Because without that, them people would not have been there to die. Not a single solitary one of them would have been there to die. So please, thank you, excuse me. And I know the heartbreak these families are going through because I have a child that since the age that he was 17 years old, I was told that he's not going to live very long. In fact, I'm lucky he's lived longer than what the doctors told me. At 17, they gave him 5 years. He's 30-some now. I'm not going to say how old he is. So I wake up every day preparing myself for the day I get that call. And I'm told I can never call my son again. I can never tell him I love him again. I can never hope to hug him again. I wake up every day of my life since he was 17 preparing for that. And if you think that's easy, it's not. But it's a hell of a lot easier than knowing for a fact that they are gone. Because once they're gone, there is no more hope for another tomorrow. And that's what's been done to these families. That's also what's been done to all 300,000 and more families of people who died from COVID. And that many people didn't have to die if Trump would have just done the right thing in the first place. I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or no party at all. These people did not need to die, or the majority of them did not need to die. And regardless of what Trump is saying, we are not doing better than all other countries. We are on the top of one of the worst countries in managing this virus. Now, Trump threw his tantrum fit. He whipped up his people with all his election lies. And he got his little puppets in the Republican Party to follow right along. Okay, here nor there. You want to let him talk about this election fraud shit. You want him to be able to get rid of those ballots. Okay, if they get rid of them ballots for the presidential votes, then they must get rid of the ballots for any and every vote that are on those ballots that Trump claims are fraudulent. If he says that in this Democratic district there was something done wrong and he wants all those ballots tossed out, if the same thing was done in this Republican district, then all those ballots must be tossed out too. But I'm going to tell you something right now. They don't want to do that. Do you know why? Because if they did that, then Trump would still lose. But not only that, some of these senators and congressmen and mayors and whatever else was on the down ballot part of those ballots, their elections would be nullified. And they themselves would have lost. You ask any one of them Republicans on the down ballot. They asked one of them, well, what about the down ballot votes? Do you think they should throw them out too since the ballots are fraudulent? Oh, that's a whole separate matter. Really? If the ballot is fraudulent for one candidate, it's fraudulent for all the candidates on that ballot. Plain, blank, simple, no excuses, no arguments. It's a foul ballot. It's a fouled ballot for everyone. And that's part of the reason why us Democrats have been arguing that this was not fraud, regardless and including the evidence that shows there was no fraud. In Wisconsin, I think it was Wisconsin, Trump was saying that a certain Democratic district had fraudulent ballots, and he cited why. But when you took a look at a whole nother district that was Republican, they had the exact same situation. The exact same situation. Just more of it. The difference was the one district was Democratic and predominantly black. The other district was Republican and predominantly white. But Trump only wanted to get rid of the district with the Democratic predominantly black people. He didn't want to touch the other district. Now, if he would have managed to do that, that would have been fraud. That would have been fraud. Because if he was going to say the one district who did the same thing as the other district should have their ballots thrown out, then so should the other district. And you people need to start looking at it and thinking and stop being led by Trump and all his little minions to your death. Stop it! You've let him lead you astray with COVID and lead you to your deaths. And now you're letting him lead you to your death with this election bullshit and the White House riot. And now they're out there again, calling for another riot January 17th and or on the 20th. Really? Haven't you had enough of being Trump's sheep? Let me tell you something. If this next time around, Trump doesn't make sure that that thing has so much security on the 17th and the 20th that a gnat can't get through it, then you know damn well Trump is in on this shit. And you better be thinking possibly, what is it that Trump wants them in there to destroy? What is it that has evidence on it that Trump doesn't want coming out? Because they monkeyed with one of the congressman's computers. So what is it Trump wants gone? What evidence? Because that's the only reason why I would think that Trump would do what he did, leaving the White House as open and weak as he did. There was a pipe bomb there. And that's the only thing. The pipe bomb and the Molotov cocktails were the only two things that were not set off. They could have easily set them off in the Senate. All they would have needed to do was throw the Molotov cocktails right into the Senate floor through the broken window. That's all they would have needed to do. And that would have scattered everybody in that room to the outer offices. And at that point in time, they would have been able to place the bomb. And they didn't do that. Why? Is it because they wanted that bomb in a specific position? And if they did, where was that position they wanted it? And why didn't it get there? Could it be because they couldn't find what they wanted to find? Or could it be that they couldn't enter the room they wanted to enter? Because there were several of those offices they couldn't enter because there were people inside of them offices who barred up the doors with furniture so they couldn't get entry to it. So they couldn't be guaranteed if they set that bomb off that they wouldn't kill some innocent person if they even cared. But they couldn't guarantee that what they wanted to bomb was in that office. There was no guarantee. You're not going to set up a bomb to destroy a particular thing. You're not going to throw Molotov cocktails to destroy a particular thing unless you know that thing is present. If they couldn't find what they wanted, that's why they got caught. The one guy got caught with the Molotov cocktails and the homemade napalm. Soaking styrofoam in gasoline to make homemade napalm. But they didn't use none of that. Why? Could it be because they couldn't find what they wanted? Could the people that were let into the side door be the people who were set out to find that thing? Could those people be part of the white supremacist group? A group that Trump has connections with members of? Could that be it? I'm not saying for positive that is it. What I'm saying is think. What are all the possibilities? Think. We know the facts. I gave you the facts. Now think of all the possibilities around those facts. Why would the white supremacist group want this riot to go on so badly? Why would Trump leave the White House unguarded properly? Why would Trump let Rudy Giuliani and his son rile up the audience so they would be in fighting stance and then come out and tell them to descend upon the White House, knowing full well there was not adequate security there, knowing full well these people was all hopped up on what Don Jr. and Rudy Giuliani had said. Why would Trump do that? What possible reason would he have? Think about it.